What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to KO Bets. My name is Bill. I'm here tonight to break down UFC Fight Night, Ribas versus Namajunas. Before we get started on that, I gotta give you an NFT update. Let's see where we're at. When I hit 100 subscribers, I'm giving away a UFC strike moment. Probably a few of them will do because it's fun. We're at 74 subscribers, so we're nearly there. We're creeping towards it. Let's pause the music. Last week we had Tuivasa taking on Tybura. If you don't already, you can see my Twitter links like right down there. Just follow me on Twitter. I'll post my official bets in the morning. And it was a fairly average week for the year we've been having. Not as good as UFC 299, but, we made some money. We made 1.61 units, 36% return. Not bad on the year. We're up 15.45 units for a 38% return. So give me a follow. I'll, as you can see, I kind of post them in this format here. So it's an Excel spreadsheet. And I just have the number of units, what the return is, try and put it all there. And I use Draftkings for odds. So, all right. Let's just go over that last week again. I got the main event wrong. I thought Tuivasa was going to come back, get the win. Wasn't the case. I think Brian Battle had a good point. Like, if you're ready to throw down right after the fight gets stopped because you're getting your ass whooped, like, I don't know. It was just a bad look, I thought, for Anglusas to be, like, so animated and so like ready to fight with Brian Battle after it did kind of look like he was just looking for a way out. I mean, it is what it is. I thought it was bullshit. Ovan St. Peru, Kennedy Njoku. I said it when we were breaking down the fights, and then I proceeded to bet on him. But like, seriously, fuck that guy. Doesn't warrant your spend. I mean, because what the hell? He got outstruck by Ovan St. Peru, right? Just pure insanity. Christian Rodriguez. I mean, this kid is great. Don't get me wrong. Even if the last round was a 10-8 round, I really don't see how this fight wasn't just like a draw. Best case scenario for Christian Rodriguez. I think he's fortunate to escape out of there with the win. Because, Isaac Dalgarian took rounds 1 and 2 very convincingly. But he was gassed in that third round. He was in survival mode. And, you could argue that was a 10-8 round for Christian Rodriguez. But I thought worst case scenario, Dalgarian it should have been a draw for him. Macy Chiasson, just like the first time they met up. Submission. Gerald Mearshart, submission. We hit those two. Mike Davis, submission. I think there was some value on inside the distance for Mike Davis that last week. It was like, it might have been plus 200 odds or something. I don't know. Chelsea Chandler goes out there, gets the win against Josiane Nunez. I thought she did. She was just the much bigger fighter. So that was a bad pick of Josiane Nunez by me. Filo, just like, I thought the longer the fight would go, the more dangerous Filo would get, but he put away Odie in round 1, which was impressive. Danny Silva and Josh Kulabau, that was just a good fight. I I thought Danny Silva won it, but it was a great fight. Jacqueline Amorin takes out Corey McKenna in round one. That was kind of a bad pick by me. I parlayed that to go the distance for some reason. Thiago Moises with the round 3 KO. It came at the very end, too. That was big. And then Chad Anheliger, underdog pick, pays off. So, on to the next week. There's not too many heavy favorites this week. But we've got, again, like another 13 fights to break down. Make a prediction for. I'll put my official, tracked unit bets on my Twitter tomorrow. You can give me a follow. We've got Muhammad Usman taking on Mick Parkin. I've been kind of back and forth in this one. I think if Muhammad Usman was like a true 260 pounder, I would really, really like him in this matchup. Mick Parkin is pretty savvy as far as his striking ability, but like the athleticism, the explosiveness, the grappling ability, the knockout ability, it's all on the Usman side. And I don't know. I just think. And there's going to be a lot of fights like this. I just think this is going to be a really close fight, and Usman is enticing. I don't know if he's going to really be able to grapple Mick Parkin, but I think that's a difference maker if he is able to do that in this fight, get Mick Parkin to the ground. Because I do think it's just going to be very competitive and close on the feet. One of those rare heavyweight fights that is projected to go the distance. Oh, I got to clear all these. I was just kind of highlighting who I liked. But I'm going to go with Muhammad Usman, the underdog, to get it done. I kind of like the idea of like as far as maybe a potential tracked unit bet would be like the finish only as a pick-em. So if it does get to a decision and Usman just kind of gets outclassed on the feet, it's no big deal because it's no bet. So, that kind of sticks out as a potential option. I like the Usman money line as a potential option. The double method of victory. Yeah, not enough juice at plus 125, but I'm going to go with the dog pick in Usman here. The next fight we've got is Igor Severino taking on Andre Lima. Both of these guys are Dana White Contender Series fighters making their debuts with the UFC. Stylistically, I just really like the output of Igor Severino, the cardio, the pressure. It's just a really good recipe to win fights. I think he's 8-0 professionally, and all 8 fights have ended inside the distance. And that's not to say Andre Lima is not really, really talented too as a 7-0 fighter, but Igor is definitely going to be the, he's going to be on the gas pedal and the one stepping forward, in my opinion. So I think I'm going to go again with the dog pick here in Igor Da Silva. Andre Lima on the Dana White Contender Series fight, the output was pretty low, and it should be a really good fight, though, regardless. Both fighters are, let's see. Yeah, Igor Silva, 20. Lima, 25. So, a couple young prospects let's see how they look. But I'm gonna go with the dog and Igor. Um, Montserrat Rendon taking on Daria Zelhel Zelenzyakova. Sorry, Daria. Daria's a really, really good striker, and then Montserrat's a grappler. So we've got a striker against grappler matchup here, and yeah, I mean, it kind of. Do you think Daria's going to be able to keep Montserrat from taking her down? I'm kind of leaning towards no, personally. I do think that's a hole in Daria's game, but like, can she do it? Can she do enough to win minutes, win rounds? It's one of those things. It's kind of the curse of being a good striker. I feel like a fighter like Montserrat, who does show that she'll grapple, like, if she doesn't get hurt by Daria, I mean, she'll feel the power of the striking, and I think she'll just abandon that stand-up game altogether and just start grappling. So I don't know. This is another one where it's just like, so back. I'm so wishy-washy and back and forth on these, but yeah, Dario's ballooned to a minus 225 favorite, and I don't like that at all. Yeah, like this is one where maybe for a decision, yeah, it's a much closer line for a decision only. I was gonna say like maybe Daria's recipe to victory here is the knockout, right? Like actually hurting her opponent. And it's not lined that way, but I do think the longer this fight goes, like, that means Montserrat's hanging in there. She's probably getting takedowns. And yeah, so give me the dog pick again. I'm gonna go with Montserrat here. But probably going to be a no bet tomorrow. If I do something, maybe I go after the decision only, or I didn't like that finish only at minus 550 for Daria, so maybe the decision only for Rendon at like plus, what was that, plus 130? Maybe something like that. Jarno Aaron's taking on Steven Nguyen. Stephen Wynn. I think that's Stephen Wynn. Aaron's is 0-2 in his last two fights in the UFC. He just does not look good. Lost to Gomez, lost to Choi really handedly. And I think if he loses to Stephen Wynn, he's getting cut. And I'm going to pick Stephen Wynn to win here. He's just got much better output. And I think that's all it's going to take to beat Aaron's, is just having more output. So I like Stephen Wynn here. I like the probably the decision. You know, Aaron's is durable enough. But yeah, give me Stephen Wynn via decision. The next fight, we've got Miles John taking on Cody Gibson. Cody Gibson's coming off of the loss to Brad Katona for the Ultimate Fighter finale. It was a really, really good fight last year. And so it's good to see the UFC keep around Cody Gibson, sign him. You know, he's gonna put on great fights. This is a short notice opponent in Miles Johns, and I think Miles Johns is probably the better fighter, but stylistically, like, you know, I like Miles Johns, but like, yeah, his only two losses have been, you know, finishes, but I mean, he's not gonna have the same output as Cody Gibson. He's probably not gonna have the same cardio as Cody Gibson, and it's just a really interesting fight because I do think Miles Johns is the better fighter, but he's got to come in here and in my opinion, kind of get to work on Cody and hurt him early. And then, like, let's see Cody Gibson's dog. 9 losses. Uh-oh. Yeah, all the losses are submissions or decisions. I don't really see John's getting this fight to the mat, so man, you gotta assume Cody Gibson's gonna be there in the third, right? Man, give me Cody Gibson. Give me the dog again. I think it's gonna be really sketchy. Like, I think there's a couple of these that you could, we could be looking at like winner by split decision kind of results. So maybe this is a good card to be sprinkling those, because those are usually like plus 400, plus 450 per bout. And so I think we could potentially get a couple of those here on this fight card. Miles John, I'm thinking then Muhammad Usman, Mick Parkin, if that gets to a decision. Yeah. So, but give me Cody Gibson to pull ahead. I mean, there's this third rounder decision at plus 180. That's kind of where my head's at. Miles gets through rounds 1 and 2, but then, if I'm banking on him fading, I can't go all in on that decision, Ricardo Ramos taking on Julian Erosa. I like Julian Erosa. He's coming off of 2 knockout losses, and he's been knocked out a lot. So, it's one of those fights I think Erosa could win, but I'm just too sketched out to pick him, so I'm going to go with Ricardo Ramos to find the chin of Julian Erosa. I mean, I don't know where Julian Erosa is in his career, like what age, 34. Yeah, but he's coming off of the two knockout losses. He's been knocked out 7 times in his career. He's only 5-4 in decisions. Ricardo Ramos, on the other hand, he's been knocked out before too, but he's 5-1 in decisions. Rosa's just super, super hittable. And like, he doesn't, even the fights he's winning, he's bleeding, it seems like. So I gotta go with Ricardo Ramos, the favorite. I take your poison. I think KO or decision at plus 100 is probably where I'm thinking this goes. And yeah, I just think it's feasible for Ramos to hurt Erosa in this fight. So I think it's going to be the knockout, to be honest. Kurt Hollabaugh taking on Trey Ogden. Kurt is he's a brawler, right? He's going to close the space, and he wants to get into, you kind of got these opposing styles. Kurt's going to step in there, throw wild punches, be pretty aggressive, walking forward, marching forward. And then Trey Ogden, he's going to be more of that, more of a technical approach. So it'll be interesting to see if Trey Ogden is able to make Kurt Hollabaugh miss, because if he's not, it's going to be a rough night, I think, for Trey Ogden, and he's going to look really bad. But if he's able to frustrate Hollabaugh early, I think he could put together a really nice 3-round decision victory against Halabau, and that's what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to use his footwork and just be more technical. So give me Trey Ogden here. I like the decision. It's at plus 120. Odds makers agree. Fernando Padilla taking on Luis Pajuelo. Fernando Padilla, he's got a huge frame. He's 6'1", big reach advantage, almost a 6-inch reach advantage in this fight. Actually over that. And yeah, he's taking on a guy who's super reckless. And we saw Fernando Padilla earlier. Yeah, he lost to Nelson. That was a weird fight. But yeah, he knocked out Arosa. I think a guy like Luis, who's not getting his head off center line and just kind of marching forward, willing to take strikes to find his opponent, I think that's going to be a big problem against a fighter like Padilla. So I'm going to go with the Padilla knockout here. Minus 175. Favorite for Padilla. Odds makers also like the knockout at plus 225. Billy Q taking on Yusuf Zalal. Man, I kind of think like Yusuf's the better fighter, but he just like doesn't go out and do enough to win, and like that's something you can always count on Billy Q to do. Does he get knocked out by Barbosa? It happens, you know. But like he's tough. He's got 3-round cardio. I think Zalal stepping in here on short notice as well. Man, I just like Billy Q to do whatever it takes to win this one. I don't know if he melts Zalal, to be honest, but I like the Billy Q decision. It's kind of where I'm leaning. Just have more activity, pressing forward with the pressure, and Zalal's counter punching, not throwing enough volume, and putting together a subpar performance. So give me Billy Q. This one I was initially back and forth on, but I settled pretty confidently, I think, on Peyton Talbot here. Cameron Saman's obviously a tremendous fighter. We saw him lose to Christian Rodriguez, who just beat Dagestan. And he's beat Rosas Jr. He's young. He's a really good fighter. Peyton Talbot's a really, really good fighter. And like the only thing that kind of worries me a little bit is potentially the grappling aspect of this. Like if like Saman's super good. If Saman's able to be really persistent and annoying with the grappling, like I could see Peyton Talbot not being able to have enough time to like fire off the punches on the feet he needs to. So it's just, he's so good. He's so good. And he's always marching forward. He's looking for the finish in fights. And it's just kind of like he'll get tested. And I think he'll pass that test. And if it happens against Saman, I think he'll pass it. I think he can save off the takedowns well enough. And I think he carries enough power in his hands. He's got the reach advantage. He's going to, it's going to be dangerous for Cameron to try and dive in there. So I'm excited for this fight. But I think Peyton Talbot wins. I think we probably see both of these dudes in the top 15 of the bantamweight division eventually. They're both super young. Let's look it up, actually. But I'm going to go with Peyton Talbot to get this done. Peyton Talbot, 25. Cameron Saman, 23. Yeah, give me Peyton Talbot. Probably a decision, too. So I'm going to go with Peyton Talbot. He's the favorite at minus 166. And the decision is at plus 180. Edmund Shabazian taking on AJ Dobson. I mean, Edmund's a tremendous 1.5 round fighter, but he just dies in his bouts, and this is probably going to go the distance. So, I think he's the much better fighter than AJ Dobson, but where AJ could potentially make things difficult for Edmund is extending this fight, implementing some grappling. I think he's pretty good at using his physicality, getting fighters against the fence. And so I think he's got the tools to get this into the third round where he could potentially hurt Edmund. But I think Edmund's going to probably win a decision here, like a 29-28 kind of deal. Looks super dominant in the first couple of rounds, and then just give up that third round. That's what I kind of think is going to happen. So give me Edmund Shabazian, the decision. Seems like there's some value on it at plus 300. Carl Williams taking on Justin Tafa. I mean, I'm a fan of Carl Williams. I like the heavyweight that knows how to grapple, because I feel like everyone outside of the top 10, if they're not a grappling specialist, they're they are just awful. And Carl Williams, he's very persistent and can tire himself out, but man, you gotta like him to be the minute winner against Justin Tafa. And like where you're sweating is when this fight is on the feet. You're just hoping Justin doesn't find the chin. But I really don't see any reason I would go against Carl Williams in this specific matchup. I think he's just going to be the minute winner here. And Tafa, on paper, 100% takedown defense. He's getting taken down. Carl Williams is the favorite at minus 192 now, and odds makers like the decision for Carl. They like the knockout for Tafa, and I agree. And then we've got the main event. We've got Amanda Ribas taking on Rose Namajunas. And, I just think when Rose is dialed in, I think she's way better than Amanda Ribas. And I think she opened as the heaviest favorite. She's not that anymore. That's for the Daria making her debut, which is kind of sketch. But Rose is the favorite at minus 198. I mean, in a 5-round fight, I like Rose to potentially score the knockout. She is clean with her hands. She's going to be the better boxer. I think she's also just the more physically stronger fighter, so I'm not really worried about Ribas grappling or getting ahead of her there. So give me Rose Namajunas. I'll take the minus 198 line all day and parlay that probably in my picks tomorrow. So again, if you're not already, you can give me a follow on Twitter where I will post my predictions tomorrow morning. And we're tracking units. So there was a couple of things in UFC news this week. So the antitrust lawsuit, I'll talk about this in a minute. I gotta toggle away from that because that's just ridiculous to me. All right. So the antitrust lawsuit, the UFC settled, and it's a great deal for the UFC. It's I'm sure what the thought process is it's a really good deal for the 1,200 fighters because they're getting some money. And that's, I think that's really what this is about. And the antitrust lawsuit was about, was getting these fighters some money. And it amounts to like, and I know it's not an even, revenue split between all the fighters because some fought more, some fought less, some made more, some should have made more, But it comes out to a sum of like $280,000 per fighter that was in the lawsuit. And I think they were satisfied with that. And I think the rest of the MMA landscape is, tired of the UFC just being the main player. And they were hoping for a little more, I guess, change out of this. Like, I think they were looking for the company to be handicapped in some sort of way that would be beneficial for the fighters and for the competitors, Bellator, PFL, who are merged together. Bellator actually had a fight tonight, and I think it's interesting that they just announced on Monday they signed like a deal with HBO Max to stream the Bellator fights, and the first one was this Friday. I think that's like, the money wasn't disclosed. It's just really odd. And I know those companies, they're not profitable yet, right? And most of their money is from fundraising. So it's just, I don't know, man. It's just I kind of think at this point too, Francis kind of clowned the PFL because like the way his contract is structured, he's permitted to go out there and box, so he's not generating revenue for the company. He's just doing that for himself, and that's great. But he's an aging star, and I'm kind of skeptical that the PFL could put together a fight that would net him as much money as boxing has in the Fury and Joshua fight. So it's interesting. Let's check the tournament. Man, I hit a great parlay. I took Yale, the points, I should say. I didn't take them straight up. But you got to take the points. I mean, Ivy League always comes into the tournament ready to play. Texas A&M's up. Wow, big on Nebraska. Duke is up over Vermont. I took Alabama. I put a little on James Madison, but I really think Wisconsin's a better team. I like TCU. I like St. Mary's. So we'll see. We'll see. All right, I'm going to sign off here. Thanks for tuning in. Please like the stream, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the support tremendously. We will be back next Friday for the next breakdown. Have a nice night. Peace.